Bucky found himself enveloped by darkness once again. He had no way of knowing where he was. The last thing he remembered was being shot and left for dead, his wounds having taken a great toll on his body. Perhaps this was his journey to the afterlife. Perhaps his tortured existence had finally been brought to an end. Only, the living were not done with him. Not yet, at least. As Bucky slowly opened his eyes, he found himself in a bed. He could hear voices. Someone was talking. A familiar voice. He heard the laughter of children, little girls. He looked to his left and saw Peggy, her wound having been tended to, resting on another bed next to him. As he looked to his other side, he saw Howard, multiple cords attached to his chest with something glowing out of it. Whatever it was obviously keeping him alive. As he slowly arose from his bed, he saw someone in another room. They were shielded by a glass door. It was the woman on the radio, the voice that had been commanding him this whole time. Bucky slowly approached, taking a chair, as he sat in front of the glass. He didn't have the strength to try to break through, and he didn't want to. He just hoped that now he could finally get answers. It's you. You're the one that brought me here. You know what I am. I do, Mr. Bonds. I do. I was there when they pulled you out of the ice. You made me like this? I played a part. I cannot deny that. Peggy was slowly stirring as well. She was horrified to see Howard in the state that he was in, but more surprisingly to see that she was still alive, that they all were. It took a lot of work to bring you all here. It's one of the last bastions among Rapture, but it will not stay that way for long. Not once Fontaine escapes. You know about Fontaine? Peggy asked, in labored breaths as she too had to take a seat. What's going on? All of this, Fontaine, it is a complicated story, but we don't have time to waste. You need to be brought to speed on everything that is happening. I am Dr. Bridget Tenenbaum, former scientist and agent of Hydra, but not by choice. My family, they were sent to the gulags during the last Great War. When my father was killed, I believed I would be next to join him. But an officer believed that I could be useful, that I had skills, and so I was taken. Slowly over time, I found myself being integrated into the scientific department of Hydra. There, I had to use my expertise to help in building their weapons. I even conspired with using the Tesseract, although in the end it did us little good, as you all saw to it. When the war came to an end, there wasn't really much place for former scientists of Hydra, for those who would either be executed or excommunicated to other countries to be used by other governments. I did not wish to share in such a fate, so I took the offer to come to Rapture. I believed that Rapture would be a new start for me, that it would give me the opportunity to have a clean break, to be free of my past. But unfortunately, when I came to Rapture, I felt that all the problems that I would have escaped on the surface, they all seemed to follow me here. even the hand of Hydra itself, Zola and a few other subordinates of the Red Skull. When we arrived here, we believed that we would be under the management of Ryan, but Zola and a few of the others, they saw it as an opportunity to bring back the Great Regime, a chance to finish what they started in the Great War. Unfortunately for them, Ryan was very keen, always made sure to keep a watchful eye. As a result, their schemes were quickly outed. I had no association with them, but I am no better. When I discovered Adam and I presented it to Fontaine, he believed that he too would be able to take Rapture for himself. This city was filled with nothing but greedy men who wished to make this world their own, all of them vying for power. I cannot deny that I played a part in it. I added to the sins of this world once more. But I wish to correct my past, to correct and right my wrongs. Fontaine, he was not good for much, but whenever you needed something sent to the surface, it could be done. There were a few outposts on the surface for Hydra, waiting for their directives. I simply sent one to have Mr. Bonds here awakened once again, with the clear instructions to destroy Hydra. So that was my mission. I was supposed to clean up all of Hydra on the surface. And then what? I come down here to Rapture and I do the same? That was the intended idea. I believed that having you would be the one best suited, best capable of correcting my errors. It was not a coincidence that the plane you flew on also had the son of Andrew Ryan. I was a part of its creation under the protest of Fontaine. I had believed that once you took him out and took his place, you would easily be able to bypass anything that this city could throw at you. So you brought back Bucky, Peggy said. You brought him here to take down Ryan and Hydra. But what about yourself? I only wish to save the little ones. As long as they are secure, what happens to me is mute. If you wish to take my life, take me to jail, execute me, do whatever you wish, I am fine with that. But you must protect the little ones. The little ones. The little sisters that you made, Peggy said. I regret what I have done to them. It's horrible. I have only created more and more of a mess. And I have no right to ask for your help, but I have no choice. I alone don't have the strength to change fate. Only you can do that, Tenenbaum said as she looked to Bucky. A few of the little sisters who had all been gathered here, a safe haven for them from the outsides of Rapture, looked to their new guest, among them being little Masha. She went running directly towards Bucky, grabbing hold of him. She has become quite attached to you, out of all of the little sisters that you have managed to save. Are there any more? Peggy asked. Including little Masha, there were about 12 to 13 girls in total. From Tenenbaum's original calculations, there were supposed to be 21, at least to her last estimate. Chances are they had already been harvested, likely by Atlas or other rogue splicers attempting to get more of the atom that was in their bodies. It broke her heart to think about the fate that they probably suffered. Being harvested for your atom was not a pleasant experience. To feel someone embed their hand into your chest while you were still alive. To reduce you to nothing but mush and flesh as they would drag the atom out of your gut. But thankfully enough, for the ones that were saved, she was relieved. And what's his next move now? What exactly is Frank Fontaine trying to do? He said something about taking over Stark Industries, Bucky said. I'm guessing that this Frank Fontaine, he likes to play identity thief. He's the type of man to change how he looks, change his alias, change his life, everything. That's how he gets around. You would be correct. Fontaine was a known criminal on the surface. He'd gone by many names and aliases over the years, moving from one area to the next, always looking for what he called the next score. If that's the case, Peggy said, we can't let him get to the surface. If he goes up there posing as Howard, the influence, the contacts, everything he'd have in his possession, he'd be unstoppable. And not just that, he does not plan on letting Rapture remain. Too many witnesses, too many chances of being figured out. With the master key, he will in all likelihood bury Rapture deep at the bottom of the ocean, burying all his sins with it. Outside of everyone in this room, are there any more? Are there any more? If you're asking if there are any more civilians, no. A city once brimming with life, it has been reduced to nothing but ash and dust. Save for Sophia Lamb and her followers, and a few stragglers here and there. That's all that remains of Rapture. And now with the master key, with control of the pheromone, he can now control the splicers. In all likelihood, he will be using them to guard him like a fortress. I've been tracking his movements. He's making his way to the medical pavilion. Chances are he'll probably try to undergo some form of constructive surgery to change his looks. Once he's done that, he'll activate the self-destruction of Rapture, destroying all of us while he makes his way back up to the surface, pretending to be Howard. From the other bed, the man in question would slowly stir as he had to come to grips with his new reality. I am sorry for the tangled mess, Mr. Stark, but you are in rough shape. Even with all the atom in the world, we were still limited in what we could do for you. Yeah, I've felt worse. Howard, are you all right? Peggy moved as quickly as she could to help lift him up. What's this? There's shrapnel in your chest, moving too close to the heart. It's not safe to try to remove it now, and there wasn't enough atom to just completely restore a new one. And your DNA is not encoded to the Vita chamber. You'd have no way of reviving yourself. I see. This thing, it's simply a magnet. It illuminates, lets you know that it's still working. You know, I had the idea of trying to make an arc reactor. Might have to go back to the drawing board on that one. Hey there, Bucky. Nice to see that you're back in the world of the living. I don't know about all that. We have to stop him. We can't let him go. Not back up. Peggy. Howard looked to her in that moment. We've got to get back there before him. The bathyspheres will only take you but so far. You could say that they're a lot like links. They take you from one position to another. They're built to travel only up certain distances. If we tried to take a bathysphere straight up to the surface without anywhere to port, we'd be floating aimlessly. And, in all likelihood, Fontaine will see us coming, and he'll destroy it. We have to get to him and to the master key. And where the hell is the bastard? He's at the medical pavilion. Probably going to undergo some sort of face reconstruction to try to look like you. Trying to steal my company, huh? Can't let that happen. Howard, you're in no position to move. We can't just stay here like this. Who knows how much time we've lost? Fontaine is getting everything prepared. He won't be able to move so easily. But the more time we waste, the more it gives him to make his escape. And we've got to cut him off at the pass. It's the only chance we'll have. Only chance we'll have to get out of this hellhole. Bucky looked down to see his metallic arm, all but mangled and destroyed. Nothing more but a nub at this point. Tenenbaum would step out of the room cautiously. She had what appeared to be some form of injection. Bucky was fearful. The others on guard, not sure what she was going to do. I have no right to ask this of you, but you need to trust me. To trust you? Why the hell should I do that? You and those bastards made me what I am. Do you know what it's like, Doctor? To not have any control over your own actions? To feel like you're sitting in the back seat while something possesses your body and does God knows what with it. I remember all the people I killed. Their faces, I'm never gonna forget that. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I know what I have done is beyond forgiving. But that is not the point. Whether you like it or not, we have come too far for it to end here. If you think that you can go in the way you are now, it's not going to work. I'm only giving you the freedom that you deserve. What you do with it is up to you. It's your choice. Bucky would look to Peggy and Howard. Cautiously, they would nod. It's not like they had many options anyway. Bucky took a deep breath. Fine. Whatever you're gonna do, do it. With that, Peggy would inject the serum into his neck. As she did so, Bucky began to twitch and move. The veins began to pop from out of his forehead. He could feel something intensely moving all throughout his body. The parts of metal that were on his left shoulder, they had already been removed, and now all that was left was the fleshy nub. He watched as the nub would begin to grow, extending down the side of his body, almost becoming the same length as his already formed arm. One by one, cartilage began to take shape, forming into bone. It was excruciating. Keep in mind, there's a reason why the human body grows at the rate that it does. Imagine transforming from a newly born infant into a full-grown adult. That would be very excruciating on the body, let alone on your arm. For Bucky, he watched as his arm went through that very phase, an infant phase, to a more mature one, until finally his arm had been restored. How did you... When you saved the little ones, there was a little bit of Adam that remained in their bodies. I was able to extract it without any cause or problem. I stored enough of it into a vial to give you back the arm that you had lost. Give me back my arm. You are the only one who can save them. I put their care in your hands. And what about you, Doctor? What are you going to do? I'm going to stay back. I will buy you as much time as I can. Take the little ones and get them somewhere safe. Stop Fontaine and end this madness. It sounds like you're trying to give me another request. It's merely a plea. One that I know that you will do. And what makes you so sure? Because you have a heart. Bucky looked down and saw little Masha hugging at his leg. It worked! I was able to help! We did it, guys! All of the girls were ecstatic. The doctor was right. They were able to help him. You were able to help all of us. You didn't hurt us. We wanted to help you. Bucky looked down at his newly formed arm. All of this was a piece of them, of each of them. Regardless to how he felt about Tenenbaum, about any of this that was going on, there was only one thing he knew. None of these girls deserved this. They needed to be protected at all costs, and Bucky was going to see to that. I'm grateful. Thank you. All of you. As Howard was fingering with the plugs, he was able to think fast and on his feet. Thankfully enough, the magnet was able to be self-sustained for now. The energy source was something created by Eve. She had injected some of it into Stark using the Electrobolt plasmid. As long as he had Eve in his system, he could keep energy going to that magnet, and thus it would keep him alive. This here is a reader. Dr. Tenenbaum would hand Mr. Stark. It was a little device that was attached to a cord connecting to the magnet in his chest that he could carry on his person. It will let you know the Eve levels in your body. You cannot let them dip to zero, at least not until you've gotten to the surface and you have a way of helping yourself. And yeah, I figure. If my Eve drops down to zero, I'm a goner, right? That is the gist of it. I've given you enough Eve that you should be sufficient, and you'll probably find more vials of it all around Rapture. I would take as much as you can get. Makes about a lot of sense. Alright. So, we need to plan our next move. Me, Peggy, and Bucky. We're gonna make our way to the medical pavilion. That's where Fontaine's being held up. You'll have to take a faster route. You cannot go the way you came. If you leave from Olympus Heights, you should be able to bypass many of the other areas that it took for you to get here. From there, you should be able to make a straight shot for the medical pavilion. Once you do, you'll have to use everything in your strength to get to him and to stop him. It's not like we really got much of a choice now, do we? And what about you? There's a way for me to get the little girls to a bathysphere. It'll be a bit longer, but by the time I catch up with all of you, by the time we get there, it should have given you enough time to defeat Fontaine, yes? So that's the plan. We'll head straight for Fontaine through Olympus Heights, Peggy said. Once we stopped him and got the master key, You should be able to reconvene with us. And once you've done that, we'll all be able to get out of here. Yes, including you, Peggy said to Tenenbaum. What you've done now, whether you can be forgiven or not, that's not for me to answer. That's for God to decide, if you even believe in him. But you have a chance to do some good. And you are one of the few people who can help us. So for that, it's all we can ask for. But there is one thing. And what is that? You spoke about the Vita Chamber. Does it really work the way you said it does? It does. Mr. Ryan and his associates were able to use it to revive themselves from critical injury, even death. And how exactly does that work? The Vita Chamber restores a freshly made body. You could say that it merely creates a new one from scratch, and it uses the DNA of whoever is linked to it to restore them to their previous functions from when they died. Basically, it brings you back however you were when you last existed. But why do you ask this? If I asked you to use the chamber, could you do it? I could. But what exactly are you trying to do? Peggy, what's this about? Howard asked. You're trying to revive the dead? Where are you, Frankenstein? Very funny. There's someone here. Someone in Rapture. He's a good man. He didn't deserve to die the way that he did. It might be a long shot, but if you could get a hold of a single Vita Chamber, could you bring him back? Right now, Fontaine has the Master Key card, but the nearest Vita Chamber to us, I'm sure I could finagle it. It would take a lot of work, and it'd be very touch and go. Who exactly are you planning to revive? Peggy would tell her who she wanted. It was the one man that she had thought about through all of this. Of course, Tenenbaum knew exactly who she was speaking of. It never even crossed her mind to bring him back with the Vita Chamber. But why him? I owe it to someone to try. If it can work, if you have the possibility, and I understand, I will fulfill your request. With everyone now at an understanding, they would pack what they needed for a fight before going their separate ways. As Bucky prepared to leave, Masha ran up to him, hugging him at the waist. Thank you so much. You've been a brave girl to endure all of this. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. I promise, we'll see each other again. All of you, stick together, protect one another, and we're gonna make it through this. The girls would all get into a group hug, hugging Bucky close before he left, grateful to the one that had saved them. When he could have been selfish, he showed them kindness. When he could have been greedy, he chose to be giving. To them, he was more than just a hero. He was a family. Their daddy. They watched as he disappeared, heading off back into the streets of Rapture once more. It was time to end things, once and for all. This concludes BioShock Secret Empire. What if the Winter Soldier was in BioShock, Part 7. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow evening as we'll be continuing with BioShock Secret Empire. What if the Winter Soldier was in BioShock Part 8? But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.